Nicholas, Sean Clan from Unearthing the Supernatural. How are you doing today?
Doing good, bro.
Okay, so today's topic, we are doing another movie review once again. And today we'll be talking about Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. So what are your thoughts about this movie?
I'm scared to do this podcast. I mean, The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It was a really, really great movie, I gotta say. As far as for like the whole historical accuracy behind everything like that, I'm not too keen on like all the exact details, but I do know that Hollywood did throw on a lot of their, I
Well, a
guess you
lot
could
of the
say,
Hollywood things,
like
yeah.
their own flair, What did you
Yeah.
think about it?
So the movie was great. It was one of my favorite Conjuring films. I think it'll be up there. The first one was good, and then this one was really good. The middle ones, the Annabelle and all the other ones, I wasn't too much of a fan of, but this one did a great job in telling the story and integrating a lot of spiritual parts. And that was a huge thing for me and you when we watched the film, was like how detail the spiritual side of things, because we're part of UTS, and we kind of deal with that spiritual side from time to time, and it's kind of scary how close they were to some things.
Yeah, it's after the movie, I left the theater and I was like kind of legit shaking.
Yeah.
My brother, maybe in a future podcast we could talk about this with him, but he has a theory that sometimes you can watch a movie and sometimes those movies are cursed. If you were to watch a movie about true life events, as far as for like demonology and everything like that, sometimes those demons' energy, just being able to record them, take videos of them, audio recording and all that, in a sense that spreads their evil energy, I guess you can say, for whoever listens and watches. And I guess you could say it's a curse in itself. Now, when you think of like the Warrens and all that, Lorraine and Ed, they have their own protections when it comes to these things. They had multiple priests and they had a total of 3 exorcisms during this whole case. Now, when you have people like that and kind of like us who are ordained to be able to go against dark evil like that, we have certain protections, and we've talked about that too before in previous podcasts.
Yeah.
Now, a good example for that is the movie Apocalypto. In that movie, they actually filmed an eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that we come to find out is some Navajos aren't supposed to be looking at eclipses like that. Now, a lot of the spiritual effects from the people who have watched that movie and watched the eclipse sometimes do feel that, and sometimes do need ceremony just based off a movie. Now, I don't know about you, but at the end of the movie when they actually showed some of the audio from the actual exorcism, that's what kind of got me, bro. Well, yeah. I don't know what your thoughts about that were.
Yeah, it was. I was like, when the end credits are rolling and like actual footage of Ed and Lorraine in the podcast, and it was a creepy audio. It was like they're performing the Exorcist, and the little kid was changing voices. It was laughing. It was a demonic spirit, and it was pretty crazy because like there's a reason why they would add it. It almost adds like a realistic effect because you watch like movies. What's the one where
Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
No, yeah, but the one where she stays up all night and watches the dude sleep for like how many hours? Whatever. That one, it's like almost a little fake, but yeah. They reel you back in where it's like this. These are events that actually happened.
Yeah, and what's really cool is about this movie is they do showcase a lot of Lorraine's gifts, and you can kind of tell like with these gifts, you find them a lot in mediums, to where like they kind of put her through tests, and reason why she's so renowned to this day is because she was able to prove to skeptics like police officers, a church, and all these other people, she was able to prove herself and her gift to. Well, a good example in this movie they did is like, okay, I got 3 murder weapons. What was the murder weapon that was used for this case? And then the Ed was all like, this is BS. You don't need to be testing my wife. She's all, it's this one. And then all the cops in the whole the police station were just like, oh my God, she's right,
Yeah.
As well as for her being a sensory type to where she can actually sense where certain events happen. She can relive tragic moments and tap into those wavelengths and everything like that. All of those are good and real tactics that mediums use. That's one thing like I use, and all of us pretty much at UTS use, is we know how to tap into that wavelength of the spirits. And I thought that was really cool that they showcased that in this movie, because it seemed like in the other movies it's just like, oh, she's a medium, but they never really showed like what more you can do with the gift.
Yeah, it was like her just getting visions. Like she'll walk into a household and it's like visions of something that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But this one they went way more in depth, where she's able uh, to to open the connections and walk through those and go see what's happening and go other places where she's not physically, but her spiritually she's there.
Yeah.
And that's was like kind of like shocking at how close they were, how things works like that.
Yeah, because we watch a lot of their interviews. We
Yeah.
watched a couple of interviews from this case alone, and from them themselves actually being on TV and actually talking about it, and as well as third party people talking about the whole case. Now, with this whole thing, you do kind of like start to feel when it goes away from actual history and facts. I think is when it started going through there, is when the demonology and then the Satanists and all those people were introduced into the movie. I think that's when they started kind of cutting away from the actual events that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, if this is where I was kind of like freaking out at the end of the movie, because like, okay, if Ed Lorraine, or even Lorraine herself, told the producers how she uses her gift and how sometimes you can go into spiritual warfare and combat. That's one thing you kind of think about. This whole this whole movie is a version of spiritual combat. There's a lot of spiritual steps that go in between everything that happens in this movie. What we say is you use your mind's eye and your foresight, and that's what Lorraine used to be able to connect and see what that Satanist was seeing. Now, there's always stories and teachings about like, okay, if you're gonna do that, you better make sure you're hidden, or you have a shield on you to where it doesn't come back on you, just like what happened in the movie. Because I don't know if I should go too deep into this, but it's really cool that they showcase. I'll just give you that much information, but for a director or producer to be able to portray that in such a way like this kind of makes me question, was this dude possessed? Whoever
Yeah.
made this movie or anything like that.
It's a little scary, like how close they were. Uh, it's one of those things that like as a cultural thing, we do UTS, we do these investigations, and we're really really careful on how much we show, how much we put in the episodes, because there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff where we do to protect ourselves from these things, and not show too much because people will try to imitate it, and imitating in the wrong way could be disastrous for some people who don't know what they're doing.
Hmm.
And it's like, you have to be very careful when you learn Navajo, because if you say the wrong word, that that that
Could
wrong word could like hurt you.
and could
And
mean totally something different.
yeah, you could bring on something that's totally like you don't want, but it's kind of embedded in the culture. So we're super careful. We understand the meaning, the responsibility we hold when we post these UTS videos and investigations. And we get a little bit of pushback from our tribe and from our families that we
Hmm.
shouldn't be doing this, but we're always like we held it to a high responsibility, where we want to show people that there are spirits out there. There are spirits who need help. There are like evil spirits who keep the spirits here that won't allow them to cross over, and we just want to help them. And that's the whole meaning of UTS, is helping the spirits. And you started it, and it's crazy how far we've gone. And the Conjuring movie just kind of puts an icing on the cake that shows us that there are people who want to learn about the spiritual side. And it's just a little scary that Hollywood got so close to it,
Yeah.
and how it works, because the whole connection, like I always describe it as a door, and the door works two ways. You open a door, you can walk into the spiritual world, but the spiritual world could also walk into your world.
Hmm.
And you just have to be careful on where you open a door, when you open a door, and who's on the other side of the door, because you never know.
Yeah, so that's why I always say, like, walk with protection, walk with that prayer, and just be safe with
Mm.
everything. And kind of going back to what you said, is this movie was right on the nail with some things,
Yeah.
and they get the concept right, but as far as for the exact details, they're still kind of a little bit far away, but still, it's the closest movie that I've seen up to date that's actually pretty accurate to compared to a lot of stuff that we do.
Yeah.
And it's pretty gnarly, be able to investigate. And I think that's one thing they did really good, was investigate, find out what the demon was, how to treat the patient, how to get rid of the demon, and also how to clean up the thing. Because
Mm.
there's one thing that the movie showed in the interview, say this was a months long process, and I was just like, we normally get that done in a night.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
when Ed and Lorraine do all these super crazy things, they were kind of the pioneers in this field, and UTS is just kind of like following the footsteps of them, the Ghost Adventures, and all the other ghost shows. And it feels good that like they're kind of go battling the same things where people don't believe them, and people say that they're doing it for the wrong reasons when they actually have the right intentions. And we're just not the only ones going through it, because it kind of feels that way.
I know.
Sometimes it gets hard when like you're getting questioned by your family that you shouldn't be doing this, but it's like we're almost like called upon to do it. It was almost fate, and we do understand the responsibility we have when we try to do it to our best ability to
Respect.
respect the culture, to respect the spirits, and just try to educate people who want to be educated about the other side.
Because, like, imagine all these horror movies and everything, that go on. If that kid knew not to poke around, and if the family knew themselves how to listen to their children when things are going on, you would see the
Mm,
signs.
yeah.
It wouldn't have gotten as bad as it did if everybody in the whole world knew how to do the basics, acknowledge things are there, read the signs, read the omens, and know how to adjust appropriately to whatever's going on. So, yeah, that's why, in a sense, that we're trying to do UTS and all that. And Ed, Lorraine Warren, rest in peace to you guys. You guys are the main ones that I found a new level of respect for you guys
Mm.
when it came to all this. And we've done our own spiritual research as far as for Lorraine's background and all that. And I just got more respect for her because she was really high up there as far as for a spiritual person, even though she wasn't native or anything like that.
Yeah.
I give her kudos and respect for, everything she did in her lifetime. And, I hope she's resting good in peace now.
Because like you said in your UTS post, that when we talk about the spiritual stuff, we always come at it from the Navajo side, the Native American side, and we see it from that perspective. But this side, we're seeing it from the Christianity perspective, where Ed and Lorraine were doing it with the priest and the church and everything. And it's nice to see a different view than our own, because everything we try to explain culturally, but sometimes it's the church side that can explain it, and sometimes it's only the Native American side that we can explain it. And there's probably a combination of both that we could both further our knowledge of how things work.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was just Ed and Lorraine. They're super great people. They're pioneers in this field, and we're just following in their footsteps. And super grateful for them that they like when you start something new, that's the people who get hit the hardest.
Yeah.
And for them to go through all the backlash, because when you deal with the other side, people always say that like something like it's evil, you're evil, you shouldn't be messing with it. But they don't understand how things work.
No.
You could confront the evil spirits and still have good intentions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's just all about, you guys, there's a lot of skeptics out there when it comes to all this stuff and everything. But and that's one thing we all at UTS know, is there will be skeptics out there. There
Yeah.
will be haters, and even within our own people with everything that we do. But we understand our reasons why we're doing this. And we have the spiritual backing, to be able to do what we do and walk forward with what we have. And so a lot of people out there have questions and everything, there's just kind of you tossing out UTS on your podcast, but if you guys, I said this in other platforms, but if y'all need help, just message us, yo. That's what I'm saying. Like we're here to help,
Yeah.
and there's gonna be a new coming of age, and we're trying to be the forefront of that. So it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, like we talk about it when bad spirits are happening, they're happening. A lot of people don't know where to turn. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to start. They don't know who to trust. That's the big thing when medicine man's like, you go to a medicine man and you tell them the problem. It's like, oh, well, we need $1,000 for this ceremony. It's a really high level bad spirit.
Yeah.
We need $1,000. I'm not doing it unless you give me $1,000. And it's like, why? Like, you're just gonna let this person be haunted or like have the bad spirits just following them around? You're not even gonna try to help unless they give you money. I don't know. It's something. So if if we can help in any way, we'll get you around started to the right path. We'll tell you the steps you need to take, and if there's further steps you need help, then we can put you in the right direction of that way too.
Yeah.
But it's always like we could lay a good groundwork for you, and then if you need more help, that's when we come in. With Nick and his brother. So, like we said, there's a lot of spiritual side of things. Things can come even though you don't want them to come, which is kind of the basis of the story of the little kid. Like, he just stumbled upon something that he probably shouldn't have stumbled upon in a new house that they move into.
Yeah, and it happens. Happen to anybody.
Yeah.
So we know how it feels to be an innocent victim. We were young. We all dealt with a lot of ghosts and spiritual stuff growing up as kids, and you feel helpless and you feel like nothing can help you. So, if you reach out to us, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So,
A lot of things is one thing I'm always like super cautious of is the hiking, because hiking is really big on Instagram. Hiking is really big on social media. A lot of people want to take good photos and post on Instagram, but those sacred lands, you don't know what's there, and you're going into this foreign territory, uh, walking on the ground, respectfully or disrespectfully, something could attach itself to you, and it's always super cautious that like a lot of people know how to give offering and tell the spirits that they're here to visit.
Yeah, Sedona. If anyone goes out Sedona, I've had my own personal stuff that happened there. So everyone just acknowledge where you at on wherever you go. Be safe. Always have the extra shield and everything when you go outside your comfort zone. So everyone look out for each other out there, and everyone be safe.
Yeah, everybody. It was a good movie. The Conjuring 3 was one of my favorite films of the Conjuring series. And just be careful when you listen to the last part of the movie where they show the actual footage. Like Nick said, it could be cursed, and it could bring unwanted spirits into your household.
Burn some cedar, put some ash on after the movie. You'll be totally good.
Yeah. So we'll end it right there. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe.